Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today ESPN's Jay Williams wants credit for doing his job and wants to lecture Kentucky fans on how marketing works. What? So, for the people that might not know, because I assume we're going to have a lot of Kentucky fans that do know all the details here, but for the people that are watching that don't, basically, Tuesday night, Kentucky Duke played in the Champions Classic. Happens every year. We got a 4-team Champions Classic, and Duke was obviously the higher rated team. They have the number one prospect for the 2025 NBA draft in Cooper Flagg. And Kentucky, coaching change, not as many big names as you usually have in Kentucky. So Duke was obviously the favorite. Kentucky ends up winning 77-72. After the game, Jay Williams, goes on ESPN. I think before the game, he was, doing something where he's talking about like how this Duke team was like one of the best since he had played, and basically wanted credit post game because he went on Sports Center when ESPN was expecting the story to be about Cooper Flagg and how great Duke was. He wants credit for giving Kentucky credit, and he went onto Twitter and recorded like a 2-minute video talking about how he wanted credit. And this is just kind of weird. It's unneeded because I don't know who the audience is for, but apparently this is for Big Blue Nation in Kentucky. So we'll go ahead and play what Jay Williams had to say a few days ago on Twitter, and then we'll just come on the other side and break everything down.
Big Blue Nation. First off, I hope you guys appreciate that after the win you guys had against my Duke team last night on SportsCenter, live on ESPN, right after the game, even though there's a massive damn picture of Cooper Flagg behind me, I decided to give credit to the team that actually won the game. I decided to give props to Mark Pope and his squad for a team that had nobody on their roster, bringing in transfers, fifth-year guys, and gave them kudos for how they executed down the stretch because they deserved it. But let me put you on to something. Whether you like it or not, networks are going to sell Cooper Flagg. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. You're going to talk about whether he won the game or whether he lost the game, regardless of the outcome. Because you're going to market him for a product that needs to attach themselves to something that is marketable and that can cut through, because Cooper Flagg can cut through. So I get it. You're not going to like it. That's what the media does. There should be more kudos and props to Mark Pope and to Kentucky. That ain't the reality of the world we live in, y'all. Think about last night. NBA Cup's going on. Nike, they're brilliant at marketing, right? Just do it. So Giannis has 59 points. Look how they go after Jaylen Brown. We already know about the issues between Jaylen Brown and Nike, right? The whole Giannis thing with the handshake. Jaylen Brown calls him childish. He's a child. And then Nike comes out with a tweet. Yeah, that 59 looks childish, doesn't it, Jaylen? It's called marketing. It's called selling. So regardless of whether you like it or not, Big Blue Nation, media networks are going to sell Cooper Flagg. Get ready. Regardless of whether you won the game or not, they're still going to sell Cooper Flagg because he's selling the sport. Sorry.
Yeah, like I said, that was weird. I don't know who that was for. He spent the first 30 seconds of that video being like, how great am I for doing my job and talking about the story of the game. And then he went on to explain how marketing works. Like, we don't understand the fact that, like, hey, ESPN's going to talk about the number one draft prospect in the country at Duke. Jeez, who would have thought that? This is like so weird. Like, every Kentucky fan I saw online was reacting to this video and just going like, who is this for? Why are you telling us how we should or shouldn't feel? Like, Kentucky fans are used to the circus and the media attention because they had to deal with Coach Cal for 15, 16 years or whatever, where Coach Cal always had, the big 5-star blue chip guys. And it was always just kind of like a circus. But the thing I think Kentucky fans grew tired of after a while with Coach Cal was the fact that it kind of became more about Coach Cal than it became about Kentucky. And it came about, look at the $1 billion worth of NBA contracts that Coach Cal had. But then it kind of got flipped on its head after that, going like, all right, you had $1 billion of NBA players run through your program and you only got one title. You only got however many Final Fours. When's the last time you guys made an Elite Eight? like it kind of turned into a bad thing where it was more about the NBA stuff and the Coach Cal of it all. And it was like Cal, at least I think he felt this, or maybe it kind of got portrayed that way, where he thought he was bigger than Kentucky and he thought he was bigger than the Kentucky program. And to a degree, I don't think he's right on that, but Coach Cal didn't need Kentucky to get really good players to come to him. He got Derrick Rose at Memphis. He's got a bunch of good guys with him at Arkansas. But if you're a Kentucky fan and you watch that Duke game, if you've been watching the difference since Mark Pope took the job at Kentucky and previously with Coach Cal, Mark Pope is embracing Kentucky. He feels honored and lucky to be the head coach of Kentucky. And he's saying things like, hey, it's an honor to put on that jersey and represent the Kentucky Wildcats and be a part of Big Blue Nation. And you should be, extremely humbled by the fact that all these players get that opportunity. And I feel like there's a nice invigoration of hope and energy, and joy with this fan base now that it seems like it's something's revitalized in them that they haven't really had in their program for a while. So Kentucky fans don't care if you're talking about Cooper Flagg after the game, and they're certainly not going to give you credit that you want because you're talking about Kentucky and how they executed down the stretch. That's not what they want. I think if anything, they're happy that this is going to be like more or less like a drama-free season. Like the reason that they wanted Dan Hurley, UConn. I haven't heard one UConn story since the basketball season started. I have seen Coach Cal have like 4 different press conferences that have like went viral in 2 weeks. I think Kentucky is happy that they're going to win and it's going to be less drama and it's going to be more about the basketball and more about Kentucky than their head coach or a certain player. So this is a weird lecture about marketing and how things work. And this is a classic Duke broadcaster thing that like all of the Duke broadcasters do sometimes. And I don't know if they mean to do it, but they're like talking down to people and they're talking to people like they're like this superior being of intelligence and that we don't understand how marketing works, or like Jay Billis last year talking about court storming and how that's wrong, and then or JJ Redick going on First Take, and then every time he's on there talking about how the notion of First Take is just like stupid, and like anyone that watches that show is stupid because this is what's wrong with sports discourse nowadays. It's like it's almost like they're just out of touch with reality to some degree, right? And it seems like it's kind of not just those Duke guys. Obviously, there's like a lot of people that are like that, but it seems like they specifically have a problem with understanding how like other fan bases feel about how they are covered. It just seems like that's a reoccurring thing. I want to finish off the last like minute or two of this video though, talking about Jay Williams, because we do a lot of things on the show where we'll talk about media personalities and we'll talk about different kinds of like aspects with them. We'll react to takes that they have every once in a while. It's not all we do, but it's something that we do every once in a while. And we did a video about Jay Williams talking about Caitlin Clark February, March, I can't remember, but he did something where he's like, well, Caitlin Clark is not great because she hasn't won a championship. And it was a thing where it's like, dude, just throw me an alley-oop and let me just dunk on you for this take. And here's the thing about Jay Williams. Him as a and I know there's some people are going to be like, no, he's like actually dumb basketball. And I was like, all right, whatever. You're going to say that about everybody. If you actually have him talk about basketball and talk about like the X's and O's and like have him focused on a game and tell the story of the game, he's actually really smart. And I have like listened to him talk about teams or how teams want to do things or describe how a certain team plays, and I'm like, oh crap, he's like actually like really good at this, which obviously he's been doing this for as long as I've been around watching college basketball, so it would make sense that he's good at this stuff. But the thing that I don't like about Jay Williams, and I think the thing that's just kind of unlikable about him is when he's like on First Take or he's on Get Up and he's talking about the NBA, and when he does that stuff, he's trying to do some sort of like weird Stephen A. Smith impersonation. And then he tries to do this like super highly intellectual hot take that usually just doesn't make any sense, right? Kind of like we said about the Caitlin Clark thing. She's not great because she hasn't won a championship. It's like, what? It's like, well, what are you talking about, dude? Like, like you are just saying something that you think is like profound and intelligent, but you're actually just sounding like really, really stupid. I don't want to bash the guy too much because we do have basically the same name. So I'll just end it right there. Jay Williams, talk more basketball. Talk about the things where I can watch you and be like, wow, that is a really good point by him, instead of doing whatever the heck this was. Because this was weird. All right. That's going to do it for this episode here today. If you guys are new to the show, feel free to give us a subscription. That is the best way to help small channels like this grow. Feel free to leave a comment what you thought about this Jay Williams Kentucky Duke situation, and please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.